did this like when I was what?
That's okay.
Oh,
Okay, so you two, I want you to get out your, you don't have to join the Zoom, but I do want you on the Google Classroom so that you can follow along with what I'm talking about. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so today we're going to talk about, well, first, before I really dive into it, I want to go back to your slab cups, right? That was the slab technique, but we did soft slab, right? You rolled it out and then you rolled them up around the toilet paper little thing to achieve a cup shape. So that was soft slab because you could roll it. This project, we're going to go in a different direction. It's still the slab technique, but we're doing hard slab. And we'll get into that a little more, but I just wanted to give that little tidbit to you. So reliquaries and shrine sketches is what we're going to go over right now. So for this assignment, you're going to create a reliquary or a shrine for an object or an idea that has special meaning or importance to you. And I'll get into that in a little bit. I included, gosh, this is working slow. I included 3 images of historical reliquaries and shrines. Okay, and you should have already completed your vocab and your ideas and thumbnails. So in your vocab, you probably would have discovered that a shrine is like a place that's dedicated to something. A reliquary is a container that's dedicated to something. So I'm giving you the option to do either of the one or the other of those. But you can see on the top, the 2 on the end are containers, and then the middle one is a shrine. I, while I think they're beautiful and historical and amazing and incredible, they don't resonate with me. But the more modern ones do. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get rid of this. There, the more modern ones do. Okay, so on the left, with the animal skull, we have a shrine. And then the 2 on the right are more reliquaries because they're more container based. I had some different images in here, but I realized I changed it up because when we're talking hard slab, the whole idea around it is that essentially if you had a piece of paper, or this is like, I know you guys can't see because I'm sharing my screen, but if you had a piece of paper and it just kind of flopped over, that would be a soft slab. A hard slab is when it's leather hard. It's like you could pick it up like a graham cracker or like a gingerbread house, right? So you're working with whole sides, and I'm not necessarily going to completely limit this to geometric things or angular things, but in a sense, when you're working with hard slab, you're letting it dry as a slab on the table, and then you're picking it up, so it's like a whole wall. So it's gonna essentially be more angular than, you're not making a spherical container, because that would be soft. That would be a pinch technique, or that would be something else. So keep in mind that we're going to be more angular. The one in the middle, you can tell, is kind of like a box. I don't know whether the top comes off or the little door opens. And then the one on the right, like when I look at things, I try and figure out like, oh, how was that made? And I almost see like almost the body, take away those arms, wings kind of deal, but you can almost see like the shape of a boat. Like that front and the back were probably large slabs, and then there's sides to it. So you're going to be making something with the hard slab technique, and it's going to be a shrine or a reliquary, like a specific place, altar type of thing, or a container. So once you've completed step 1, which is the vocab and ideas and thumbnails, and hopefully you all did that because it was due last class, you're going to take 3 of those ideas that you connect with the most and design 3 different detailed drawings on 3 separate sketchbook pages. So I was talking with my other class this morning about this, and there are a multitude of different ways, different directions that you could take this. you know, something for me, if I was making a shrine, this is something that I'm like, I'm honoring and like I feel like it's really important to me in my life. It could be something serious, or it could be something on the more comical side, like coffee or chocolate, because these are two of my favorite things in the entire world, aside from my children, you know, blah, blah, blah. But if I, and I want you to think of this, there should be some relief aspect to this. So relief is when a relief sculpture is when it has a flat back, but it's kind of, you know, protruding out from it. It pops out. So that skull on the left, right, is a relief. It has a flat back and then it pops out. And it could be a low relief or a high relief. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But maybe for something that I'm passionate about, on the left-hand side, I could make my shrine to a cup of coffee, to a cocoa plant. So I love plants. My house is filled with plants. Maybe my relief sculpture is the foliage from a like a coffee bean plant or like a cocoa pod plant. It's totally up to you how you do this. This is probably the most conceptual project that we've done up until now, right? I've kind of said, this is what I want you to do. Here's how I want you to do it. But now I'm saying, I want you to work in hard slab. It has to include this and this, but it's up to you how and what you do. So you have a lot of choice here. If I wanted to go the more sentimental route, well, also thinking about, oh, no, wait. See, I've had too much coffee and I have too many ideas. So if I'm thinking coffee, and that would be my shrine, but if I want to make a reliquary, like what's that special thing that I want to put into my reliquary, right? A reliquary is a container for an object. And it could be for an actual object, like, and I keep thinking baseball. It comes to my mind all the time. I don't play baseball. I did play softball at one point, but I don't even watch baseball. But maybe you have your first baseball glove from when you were a kid and you don't use it anymore because your hand is way too big because you're an adult now and it doesn't fit in your kid glove, but you don't want to get rid of it. So maybe you make a reliquary for it. So it's this like little box that holds that special item. Going back to coffee, my grandma, like I only knew two of my grandparents. My dad was adopted, so and it was his stepmom, so it's like my step adoptive grandma. So, but she was my grandma and not related to me, but she was everything. And she was like the perfect combination of Italian and Jersey and Florida. She was like grandma. And I have one of her teacups right now. It's like this cup. And I love it because it's my grandma and I remember her holding it, but I don't use it because it's not my style. And I also don't want to use it because I don't want to break it because it's hers and it makes me cry wanting to like almost cry thinking about breaking it. So I might make a reliquary for that teacup. Like this is my special thing that I'm going to put in that box. If you have something that's more conceptual and you don't have a thing, maybe the most important thing to you is family. And you make a reliquary or a shrine, maybe it's going to include photos. Maybe you make little figurines of your family. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have an actual baseball glove or an actual teacup to put in your reliquary, maybe you make those little things out of clay to put in there. So kind of like this image on the right, that one to me is all about family. I have no idea what it is. Looks like there's a cat in the window, but it's like a person with all these little windows in it. And I love it. I love the concept of it. And I love what I interpret as a representation of it. So I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but I'm wanting to give you ideas so that you sort of know where to go with this. Again, these can be conceptual or symbolic representations of your ideas, not necessarily literal, but none of them should be cartoony, right? You're not making like a giant, I don't know, Pikachu, whatever. I don't know. My nephew loves Pokemon. But you know what? If it is that, then you can do that. But the reliquary or the shrine itself should be refined, but can have cartoons in it. Okay, so you're not making it like a giant stick figure, right? If you're going to make a figure, it needs to be a figure. Along with each of your drawings, I want you to explain the concept for each piece. So on each sketchbook page, you're going to have a large drawing, detailed, value, everything to go with it. But then I want to know why you're drawing this. What is it? How does it represent you? How is it important to you? What is the object? Like my last class, one student already completed one of her reliquary drawings, and it was this beautiful box, and it had eyes all over it, and she said it was for a necklace that her mother gave her. I said, great, but I want to know, why is that necklace important? Like, what does the necklace look like? And then why are there eyes all over your box? Like, what does that represent? What's the point of that? So I'm going to encourage you to really reflect and explain all of these ideas. Your explanation should be at least 3 sentences. Like, that's nothing. It needs to be more than that. Use your iPad, personal photos, and the books available for reference. You're going to turn this in. It's due, I originally had it due Monday night, so it could be ready before class, but I'm going to give you 2 classes. I'm going to give you today and Tuesday to work on this. It's due Tuesday night at 9 p.m. These should be at least 5 by 7. So whether that's 5 by 7 on its end, or whether it's laying down, if it's a box, maybe it has feet and it's up off of the ground, but it's not a huge thing that you're making. But I also don't want you to make something the size of a ring box and be like, that's it, that's all I'm doing. So it needs to be at least 5 by 7. What's important? 3 pages of preliminary sketches and ideation, right? Each one has its own page. This is a classwork grade. Your effort and attitude. Did you meet the requirements? Is this a hard slab technique-based project? Creativity, innovation, originality, and concept. This is huge, right? If you use Pinterest or Google Images or anything as reference, great, but it's as reference. I don't want to look at your design and then later be like scrolling through Pinterest, looking at clay reliquaries and shrines and see your exact thing, right? This should be original. It needs to reflect and represent you. Thank you. Time on task, craftsmanship, overall appearance, quality, not the quality, mastery of technique, of slab technique, right? These are all things that are going into your final grade. So does this make sense? Are you excited about it as I am? Maybe not. Hopefully you are, because this is tailored to you. You can make it what you want it to be. So it's up to you to do something interesting. It's all falling on you. If you don't do anything interesting, you're like, oh, this project, like, you're not invested. You have the opportunity to make something pretty amazing. So you're either making a shrine, which is you're creating a place for something, to display something, to hang something, to put something on, or you're creating a reliquary, which is a container. Okay, so there's two options. In my last class, somebody asked those ideas and those thumbnails, can you combine them? Absolutely. Like if you have a few ideas that could be worked together to make one, do it. And then the last thing, before I let you go and think and research, I want to talk to you about is this technique that, like, I want you to be thinking about how it's going to look in the end. Is it something that's glazed? Is it all one color? Is it, did you love Sgraffito so much that you want to do something else that's Sgraffito? Are you burnt out on Sgraffito and you want to try something else? This technique, I think, is kind of like the opposite of Sgraffito. And I can never say the word. Mishima? I don't know how to say it. I don't know where the emphasis lies. But this is the Mishima. I'm going to say it twice every time. This is that process. It's kind of like the opposite of Sgraffito. So basically, this student, Bailey Littlefield, in my block 3, had carved, incised these lines, right? Carved these lines into her piece, kind of like yours. And we fired it. And then when it came out of the kiln, right, it was bisqueware, you can hear it. It was bisqueware. We took underglaze and filled those lines with black underglaze. And I just put it right here, and then took a damp sponge and washed it off. Like it just kept going over the surface. So the underglaze stayed in the lines, and it also went in the cracks and the dents and the divots and all of that, which is cool. It gives it like this antiqued, tarnished, kind of old beat up look. But I think this is a really beautiful process. And if you imagine your piece being black and white, maybe you're going to try something like this. I don't know, possibly. But I want that sort of to be a thought. Like in your notes, tell me how you imagine this as a finished product. Is it glazed? Is it glazed with 18 different colors? Please, no, don't do that. Is it glazed with 3 different colors, which should be max? Is it sgraffitoed? Is it mishi mud? I'm turning it into a verb now. That was a lot of information. Does anybody have questions? What? None? It's a miracle? I explained something so well that there are no questions?
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
So is the whole thing due next week? Or is
The drawings are due at the end, 9 p.m. on Tuesday. And I'm going to push you. I'm going to make this happen fast. It's not a huge project, but this needs to be done by the end of this quarter. So that's, I think April 2nd is the end of the quarter. So you have a couple weeks to finish this. So if you know that you're a slow worker, and you might need a little more time, then I would do your drawings today and then maybe work on them this weekend. That way you can start construction next week. I am gonna say your construction is due by the end of the quarter. So that's pretty much what I've been grading this year. Glazing is like icing on the cake. It's great if we get to do it, but it's not going into your grade, which is crazy because I usually give a glazing grade. But your construction and the whole form needs to be complete by the end of the quarter. So you have 2 class periods to work on 3 different designs, which is a lot of time, but I want these designs fully developed. Nobody should come to me at the end of class day and be like, I'm done. Nope, didn't take enough time. I want more. I want more than that, okay? I need a thumbs up reaction from people at home if you're fully on board and you understand. Thank you, Liz Bove. Thanks, Emma. Mason, Katie Bray, Maddie. Thank you. Jaylee. Tia and Ryan, are you understanding? Yes, thank you, Tia. Ryan, are you good? Do you have questions? I haven't gotten that thumbs up from you yet. Ryan, are you there? This is my new technique.